Well, welcome back, Amanda. Welcome back to North America, and welcome back to episode 2 of Who is My Daughter Now? Amanda Sheldon is my daughter, and I am the author of Who Am I Now? Feminine Wisdom, Unmasked and Uncensored, and my name is Isabel Banerjee. And I am excited to have this opportunity to be sharing some conversation with Amanda in that she has just repatriated to Canada about 3 weeks ago after being in the Middle East for 10 years. And I just thrilled to be able to share some of her experience with you for anybody who's thinking about an expat lifestyle or career or has curiosities about what it's like really uh, unmedia filtered, what it's really like to live on that side of the world. And oh gosh, whatever other questions we can throw at Amanda that she
I'm
will
ready
us.
to catch them.
So we talked in the first episode about the adjustment of leaving Canada, leaving Toronto for her life, and uh, landing in Kuwait and working there, and the rather pleasant surprises after the initial culture shock, entry shock. Now, I know, Amanda, that you spent 4 really exciting learning years and growing in the culture and within your organization. And then you had the opportunity to accept a, a bigger position and you relocated to Dubai.
Correct.
Dubai is the name that more people, I think, recognize than Kuwait. It's in the news, and for those of us who've watched the Sex and the City movie, there's all this confusion about really was that Dubai or not, and Amanda can tell you
Correct.
the truth about that. But now I would like to open up a little more of what what is it that maybe a misconception or an unawareness about what it's like in the Middle East, especially for you, a young woman transplanted there and working there.
Well, right away, what came to mind is that people believe it's not safe for women to be there, and as a single woman, especially unsafe, which is quite false. It's, I think, in both Kuwait and the UAE, I probably felt safer than I do in Toronto because the law enforcement is a visible presence, but not in a threatening way. And there is a very big respect for women within Muslim culture. And so women are protected in that sense. The other big misconception was that women don't drive and they don't work, which also is false. I got my driver's license in Kuwait and then had to get it again when I moved to UAE, and it was actually, I would say, easier than North America process, but it also then gave me that freedom for the work that I did to be able to commute to see my teams in the various locations. And lots of women do drive, whether they're local women or expat women. It was not seen as a hindrance in any way.
Right. I remember when I visited you being so impressed with the roads. They're so organized, the signage is beautiful, the road lanes are very wide, and everything is so well maintained. I don't think there is a word in Arabic for pothole, is there?
No, no, and it is one of those things where our main roadway in Dubai, Sheikh Zayed Road, is
Yes.
13 lanes wide. So, rush hour traffic does not happen. Everything moves quite quickly and in an orderly fashion.
Would you
I will,
would you
oh,
say would you be safe to say it's nothing like the 401?
no, not at all. There's no. there's no need to worry about traffic. In fact, I lived what we would consider the suburbs in Dubai, but it was a 20-minute commute into work,
Yeah.
which was right in the downtown core. And we actually, as expats, used to think 20 minutes is so long, but coming back to Toronto, thinking 45 minutes to 2 hours is too long.
Yeah, it is too long, and you're right, it's a different reality. What do you think maybe some other things that would surprise people in North America about living in the Middle East?
Well, especially Kuwait, as my first impression was, I wouldn't be able to find restaurants that I knew or food that I could eat, and that is absolutely false. Like every brand and then some is actually, in the Middle East, as an expansion, as a franchise.
Yeah.
Um, and you actually get not just North American brands, but you get English and European and French, and so you actually get a lot more choice than you would expect finding here in Toronto. So I'm missing restaurants that I know as chains over there.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now that like it's so multicultural.
Correct.
It's like you could just travel the world by walking down the street, and there's every major brand for shopping and dining. It's all there in one place.
Every price point and every taste that you could have. So, I know you and I have joked about it that my time, I never cooked because I could just order out for relatively cheap and get it to my house faster than me trying to think of a recipe that I could make. So my first, I would say 7 of my 10 years, I didn't turn my stove on. So it was only in the last 3 that I thought it would be healthier to cook.
Yeah, we're having this conversation now on August the 4th, 2020, and we're unfortunately smack into what about month 5 of pandemic 2020. And so now it's become much more the norm in people's vocabulary to order in, have food delivered to them, or pick up curbside. That's how you existed all those years,
Absolutely.
right?
And it might sound snobby, thinking of a better word, but my entire time there, the conveniences that the region affords. So people pumped your gas and they brought food to your car, or they would deliver it directly to your home. Every bill, every public service is automated on an app. So you really didn't need to go into an office to connect a utility because you could just download the app and connect it right away. So they've done great things with technology and great things to enhance personal comfort. And that's part of why the economies there have been so successful.
Awesome. I know it's a small thing, but one of the things I remember being so impressed about was that overnight, magically, somebody came and washed your car in your parking spot in the garage.
Yes.
That's the coolest thing ever.
And it actually, coming back to Toronto and seeing everybody's dirty car, I was thinking, where is that guy? Like, I should have brought him with me.
That,
Make
that, that's who you should have put in the suitcase, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, and I apologize for sort of misspeaking and generalizing the UAE and the Middle East, because I know that there's a lot of different countries, and each one has its distinct character and geography. You had the opportunity, or you took the opportunity to travel a bit wider there. Could you give us some highlights about other areas that you visited?
So within that sort of region of the world, for work, I did quite extensive travel. So my time in Kuwait, I worked with Pottery Barn to launch the brand. So there, I went to Lebanon and spent quite a lot of time there to do recruitment, and then also open stores. Bahrain, Oman, which is just breathtaking as a country, and the people are so lovely and so humble. I've, experienced Saudi for work. I wish I'd actually gone to be able to do it for tourism now that it's opened up. So that would come later.
Mhm.
But just the region itself, you're right. There is an idea that it's one place, but each smaller country has its unique heritage and unique flavor, I would say, to that culture. And it's interesting over my time where, I stepped off the plane in 2010, just seeing everybody in their white dish dasha and not knowing who they were. But now, 10 years later, I can actually see somebody and go, okay, I know what nationality you are. I can understand the subtle differences to the dress you're wearing, to pick out your culture.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
And that goes back to my earlier remark about if more people traveled and were exposed to different cultures and really understood without the filters of media and movies, there would just be so much greater appreciation for each other, right? But
Absolutely.
those nuances of understanding the difference in the clothing, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think what I haven't mastered, and I'm sad to say it, but the accents, that's always been difficult for me, even in Canada. I never thought I had an accent till I came back to Toronto in these past 3 weeks. I'm hearing it and I'm thinking, oh, is that what we sound like? So I had forgotten what, Canadian accent sounded like.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else that comes to mind that that you would like to share in terms of the nuances between the different countries and places that you love to visit and places you still want to visit?
Well, from a personal travel, I think the best thing I had was that, geographically, where the Middle East, it's the launch pad to Europe and to Asia. So, I mean, I've had that opportunity to take some pretty impressive vacations,
Mhm.
because they were only a few hours away. So to go to Prague, to go to France, I went to Singapore for my 40th birthday, and then down to South Africa. So, you know, places where, coming from Toronto, I never would have dreamt I could go.
Right.
Actually, natural, because I met people from those countries and it sparked an interest in order to then go on vacation there. And then also, feeling like the Middle East was home. So after a vacation, you come home, and appreciate it even more. And then, if I talk about the differences. So my time in Saudi, for example, with the work that I did, I had that opportunity to meet men and women, interview, hire, recruit both men and women, and to have a local Saudi man to be interviewed by a Western female. Again, that was a stereotype that I think I was surprised by, to say, oh, there's no problem with this. I could shake their hand, I could talk to them directly. And often they were very eager to have a Westerner talk to them because they could practice their English and they could, share communication, which was great. And then to have those staff of all nationalities working for me, um, it was their first exposure to have a female in a position of power or a
Mhm.
position of authority from Nepal or from Myanmar. All these smaller countries that people don't think of, those were my employees.
That's fantastic. You reminded me of when I traveled. I did business in China for decades, and I had that same very positive experience meeting the locals, the nationals, and their eagerness to interact and have conversations so they could show off their English skills and they could ask questions. And it was just the most heartwarming opportunity. And again, not to get all kumbaya, but hands around the globe, that the more that we know about each other and celebrate with each other, a better place it's going to be for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think even, taxis, whenever I would take a taxi or an Uber, it was interesting to talk to those drivers.
Yep.
Um, especially in Dubai, most of them are from Pakistan or from India, from the rural areas. And so they're telling me their life story about coming and supporting not only their own family back in India or Pakistan, but their brothers and sisters' families because they're the breadwinner. And so it really humbles you to see people and their life journey, and then
Right.
what I have and what I'm bringing to my personal space. And so it opens up your eyes to a completely different world than I think most of us in North America understand.
Okay. I'd really like to make a point to talk in another episode more about that, about how your experience has expanded your thoughts on diversity and inclusion and how that all works to make a company a stronger environment and ev- as they say, a rising tide lifts all the boats. So that would be great. All right. So just a reminder for those of you that are listening, in episode 1, we threw out a challenge for you to name all 7 of the Emirates in the United Arab Emirates. And Amanda will be the judge and she will randomly choose a winner. And I will be very honored to send you a personally autographed copy of my book. So for now, we'll say farewell. Can you say farewell, goodbye in Arabic for us?
Ask me, and I've just frozen away.
All right, all right, all right. I'll give you time to think about that.
Okay, good.
And we'll be back to you soon with another episode of Who Am I Now in the World? Bye bye.